congressional race, November 1st, 1830, I became a landslide winner. My election to the presidency wasn't half so gratifying to my innermost soul. After 40 years of public service, this was the first office I had personally obtained by the popular election of the people.
And the people would vote 8 more times to return John to Congress. Ironically, his years as a congressman brought us closer together. I actually became a partner in his work.
Well, but not before 2 more personal tragedies visited us. In 1832, my one remaining brother, Thomas, died a broken man after years of fighting battles with alcohol. Near the end, his once robust body became frail and shook with spasms. Then 2 years later, our son, John, who also had had his battles with alcohol, died at only 30 years of age. My son sacrificed his life for me. He worked at my side during the presidency and had to withstand much hardship. And then he assumed the running of a mill I owned outside of Washington, striving with all of his strength to make that mill profitable, but it too took its toll. A more honest soul or more tender heart never breathed on the face of this earth. But God works in strange ways. He was actually removing from my life 2 of my biggest worries so that I could plunge myself into my life's object, which began in earnest in the mid-1830s.
That was when I became John's helpmate.
Yes.
We found ourselves in the middle of the battle for the abolition of slavery.
Now, actually, it was more of a free speech issue to me. However, my attitude towards slavery eventually changed.
I know mine did. For many years, I was not for the immediate freeing of the slave. I feared that they might try retaliation against their owners, which would have put members of my family in southern Maryland in grave danger. But now, I worked until the early morning hours, going over the many petitions which John was receiving from citizens, mostly women, who were for abolition. I would summarize them and point out the most interesting.
Yes, and every Monday morning, petition day in the House, I would rise and present these petitions before the House, much to the chagrin of the House leadership and the Southern representatives. Then in 1836, Henry Pinckney of South Carolina presented a resolution that would prohibit these petitions or even discussions of slavery or abolition to be heard on the House floor. I stood and proclaimed, "I hold this resolution to be in direct violation of the Constitution of the United States and the rules of this House and my constituents. The slavery question must be discussed in this body or our Union will soon be torn apart."
The Gag Rule, as it became known, was passed, 117 to 68. However, we kept receiving petitions. I continued to organize them, and John kept finding ways to at least attempt to present them. These moments led to many confrontations, and on one occasion a threat of censure.
Lydia Lewis and 315 women of Franklin, impressed with the sinfulness of slavery, asked you to abolish
Silence
it.
him! Point of order! Silence him!
Phoebe Weston and 156 women from Boston
Does the gentleman from Massachusetts have a right, under the rule, to read the petition?
earnestly petition your honorable body to abolish slavery in the District of
The
Columbia
gentleman from Massachusetts will be seated
and to declare
silent.
every human being free who sets foot upon its soil.
Silence him! Expel him! Mr. Adams, take your seat!
A month later, I said, "I have here a petition which appears to be from a number of, slaves."
Expel him!
Censure him!
Mr. Chairman, he has insulted this chamber by implying that slaves have the right of petition.
Oh, no, sir, that was simply going to be my question, if the petition was actually in order. You see, actually, it's from 22 slaves who are against abolition. I hereby present it, as I have another one here from Benjamin Emerson of Haverhill, Massachusetts, which states that since the Union, as it is now operating, does not give equal benefits to all parts of the nation, and as the Union, as it is now operating, will soon destroy the whole country, he does hereby ask that Congress peaceably dissolve said Union. There you are, sir.
This is the final insult. Censure this man, Mr. Chairman. He has called for rebellion.
Sir, I have done nothing more than our forefathers did. In the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, it states that the people have a right to reform, to change, and to dissolve their government if necessary.
He is insulting this body. Censure him.
Sir, you will not censor me until I say this. By denying the right of petition to our citizens, you are performing an act that no despot even imposed upon the poorest of creatures. When the right of petition is denied to one group of people on one particular question, where will it end? Huh? What group will you limit next? No, for the preservation of this union, this question must be discussed, and I shall continue discussing it until the last breath leaves my body, or I succeed in overturning this most unjust of rules. I shall fight you, gentlemen. Now go ahead, censor me if you wish. Censor me if you can.